Alrighty, everyone. Well, good morning. Welcome to the Fall 2026 Academic Personnel and Hiring Processing webinar. My name is Eric Cuevas. I am Lead HR Operations Technician, and joining me today is the Office of Faculty Affairs. We have some of the team members here. So we have Yesenia Estrada. Say hi, Yesi.
Good morning.
Good morning, Yesi. We also have
Sorry.
Kim Posen McConnell.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Kim. And we also have Albert Alcazar, who is having some technical difficulties, but he'll be joining us soon.
I'm here.
Um, oh, hey, there you are.
Yeah, good
Hey,
morning,
Albert.
everyone. Hey, I made it.
You made it. All right. Can get this show on the road here. So, um, just a quick review of the agenda. So obviously I just did the welcome, but just want to let everybody know just a couple housekeeping rules. The chat feature will be open today. So if you do have questions throughout the presentation, it's fine to ask them. However, we will be breaking at designated spots during the presentation for bits of Q&A, but we will have a dedicated time at the end for a more prolonged Q&A session. Um, so if we don't answer your question right away, we just want to keep like the recording and for the sake of brevity and just for the recording being kind of concise, want to kind of keep the flow going. But yeah, so we do have some updates for everybody. We'll be providing some more updates on dates and deadlines, and then faculty affairs will be discussing a plethora of topics: academic student employees, additional work, and then we'll be going into background checks and sign-in process as far as on the HR side, a little bit on benefits, module processing, a note on MPC, known as Master Payroll Certification, and just kind of wrapping up this academic year and summer as well. With some time for Q&A at the end. So let's go ahead and continue. So just want to give an update. There is a mandated training for all employees. So anyone who's working at CSUM, whether staff, faculty, or student, is required to take a basic set of courses. So these trainings are mandated as a result of either legislation or system-wide executive orders. So you can see the list there on the left of all of the courses that are required and their normal duration and when they're needed to be taken. These trainings should be done during work hours, so they would be reportable time. Should you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to csu-learn@csum.edu. And another big announcement, I actually mentioned this during the student webinar from yesterday, but the Common Human Resources System. So this is going to go live March of 2027. This is going to be our PeopleSoft 9.2 system. It's going to be shared across all CSU campuses. So all of our information will be shared and would be accessible as for an ease of use in tracking employees who work at multiple campuses and a bevy of other things. But as far as our interest today, one of the major changes going to be happening for CHRS, we'll be introducing is what's known as a temporary academic employment module. So this is a custom module that's used for managing temporary faculty data. So generating appointments, printing appointment letters, loading these transactions into what is our PeopleSoft job data site, and providing reports and assisting in management. I believe also the additional pay requests will be coming in through here, but obviously we are still in the testing phases as of right now. We're working with the Chancellor's office and their point people on making sure that the testing phases are going well at this time. So it's kind of taking the priority of our time right now with work. So still in the preliminary phases, we can't really guarantee exactly how things are going to roll out or be able to answer too many questions as we're still fleshing things out at this time. So, but just kind of wanted to give everybody a heads up that, going forward, we have, I think, just spring 2027 that will be handled in our normal system and then going full steam ahead into CHRS in March. So exciting stuff. Yes, going into dates and deadlines. So as per usual, just wanted to give an update as far as the appointment durations and types for the three major job codes that are entered in through the part-time faculty module. So that would be the 2358 part-time lectures. They have S1, Y1, and Y3 appointments. Teaching associates, the 2354, they have appointments for in either S1 or Y1, S1 being one semester and Y1 being a 1 year. and also graduate assistants who have either fall appointments or spring appointments. They're technically considered AY, but they are aligned slightly differently as opposed to the other um, lecturers or teaching associates. So yeah, you can see the dates there. Again, the slides will be available on our HR academic department guides website. So overcome on that. Just some more processing dates. So again, the pay period being technically the first, that first portion of August is going to get rolled into September. So, faculty members tend to ask, when am I going to get my check for August? When am I going to get my check for August? So the first payment for fall 2026 work will be issuing out October 1st of 2026. As far as keying deadlines, just as far as keeping up to date with your active faculty rosters, we're asking that you key everything into the part-time faculty module by August 27th of 2026. That should be the last Thursday of that month. So hopefully that should be enough time, but obviously, I say deadline, but this is technically a soft deadline. It doesn't mean that the module will close. So if you do have transactions that come in after this date, please enter through the part-time faculty module instead of sending a PAR. Obviously I'll go into the scenarios where you would need to send over a PAR, but as far as just entering in a standard, a time-based change or reappointment that could very easily be done through the part-time faculty module, and just go ahead and do that. But again, this is just to ensure that all entries are submitted before we start doing our mass separations for anyone who was not reappointed for the new academic year. Approval deadline, so that's Friday, August 28th. It's usually the day after. And as far as MPC initial and final, so these dates are published on our university payroll calendar. The dates in particular are for the September pay period, as that's when the time would be certified. So for the combined period for August and for September as well. So it's important that, if your faculty members are not showing up, please feel free to reach out to, your operations or payroll technicians at that point to kind of see what's going on. Yes, appointment notices. So for all faculty and academic student employees, so those who fall under the R03 and R11 employees, there is a PeopleSoft query that's available through Solar HR. The name's there for the appointment letters. So those are available for those who have access. So if you do have a Y3 lecturer that needs a letter for every semester, you will need to generate those manually, as if they don't have any changes to their units or to their appointment, to any kind of salary change, then it might not be picked up on this report. So you would just need to pick up, the data that's there and kind of adjust it manually for your purposes. So it is a pretty helpful query. Obviously, it picks up, all kinds of data for you to set up those letters that will be available on our HR guides website. But if you do run into the case where the faculty member is not showing up in the appointment letter query on, in the search fields that you're using, try leaving all the fields blank, running again, and then filtering down just to your respective college. I do have an updated quick guide that's going to be posted on the guides website, but please feel free to reach out to your operations technician if you have any additional questions. But okay, so I think I'll be turning it over to Kim to cover a little bit more on academic student employees.
Yes, thanks so much, Eric. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to this presentation about academic student employees. Hooray! So first of all, I want to thank you all for hiring ASE's academic student employees. It's a great opportunity, as you know, for them to get introduced into the professional world, to launch their career. That's helpful to us too, for them to be able to get some of our multiple work done. Okay, so with regard to hiring ASEs, a reminder, you must provide them with the appointment notice. It does say at least 90 days prior to the effective date of the appointment, but practically speaking, just as soon as possible after you decide to hire them, please give them the appointment notice. Where are the appointment notices? They're on the HR, Academic, Personnel, Faculty Affairs websites, and I think Heather maybe posted a link to, that's where they may be. Our appointment notice packets must include the ASE description of duties form, which is called Appendix E. You can remember Appendix E. Okay, I'm going to say something that if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. If you do know what I'm talking about, this will be good news for you. There was a different form on the FA website, description of duties. You don't need to use that. We have found it to be duplicative of Appendix E, so you only need to do Appendix E. If you know what I'm talking about, hopefully this is good news. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. We have saved you time of doing a different form. So just Appendix E. Rachel knows what I'm talking about. I see the reaction. Okay, great. Next slide, please. Okay, so ASC hiring, separations, terminations. So before hiring them, open hire positions must be posted on ASE1 form. Those forms are on our FA website. They must turn in the SC1, the statement of their experience, sort of like their resume. They must have that. You must have that on file. You must have a copy of the sign-in form by all new TAs and GAs completing the sign-in process. So really make sure you have all this paperwork, because obviously we don't ever anticipate a grievance, but if we were to have one, we really need to document. Okay. So in the case that something doesn't work out and they want to resign or decline an appointment, they need to submit a written letter stating that they declined the appointment or they resigned from the position with an effective date. If that doesn't happen, please you write to them a confirmation of the discussion, details surrounding the withdrawal, and then submit the PAR to HR to say what the last date of their appointment is. In the unlikely event that there is a issue or failure to perform duties, please feel free to contact us, Faculty Affairs. We're here to help. We can assist you. Oh, thanks, Heather. Yes, that's our website. Thank you. Appreciate that. So if there's a problem, contact us. We are here to help and work with you. You know, we're on this together. We understand things happen. So please feel free to contact us. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so there are different types of ASCs, as you might know. An instructional student assistant, ISA. So I have sort of mnemonic devices for you to help remember which type of student worker is which. An ISA might be similar, generally speaking, to like a student assistant. Now, wait, student assistant, SA, that is a different category, not Unit 11. But so if you are thinking, what is ISA most similar to? It's most similar to a student assistant, but it's not a student assistant because this is an academic student employee. How is it different, you might ask? Well, as you see on the slide, ISAs perform teaching, grading, or tutoring duties. So not things like answering the phone, clerical work, you know, other ordering snacks, I don't know, other things like that. That is not them. They're academic student employees. A note on where it says teaching. In this sense, for ISAs, teaching is more referring to like teaching someone algebra, teaching someone how to do the lab in biology, like that. A general sense of the word teaching, not teaching a class. I know that is confusing. That is just how it's written in the CBA and in the classification standards. Perhaps in the future could maybe say that a little more clearly, but that's what it means. So not teach a class, okay? More like teaching someone algebra, right? Okay, let me know if you have any questions or how to classify someone. Okay, I think that's good on that. Those are the codes. We can go to the next slide. Okay, next up, teaching associate, TA. Similar to how ISAs are more similar to student assistants, but are not them, teaching associates, TAs, are more similar to lecturers, but are not them. Not a lecturer, right? But they, TAs, can teach a class. They provide, they provide opportunities to currently enrolled or admitted CSU graduate students with part-time employment, similar to a lecturer, not classified as a lecturer. They provide them practical teaching experience in fields related to their advanced studies. This is a great opportunity for someone who wants to get into teaching or starting a professional career. So TAs can teach university courses, actually teach a course, not teach someone algebra, teach a course. They assist with professional and technical activities. Let's see. So a difference of TAs, they can be appointed to any time base up to full time, 40 hours per week. However, wait, if a TA also is an GA or an ISA, then they can only go up to 20 hours per week. So everyone can only work 20 hours, except if you are only a TA, then you can do 40 hours. Again, feel free to ask me if anything, if you need clarification on any of these, we're here to help. Okay, next slide. Next up, graduate assistant, GA. So a graduate assistant can generally be thought of as similar to a research assistant. But again, we do not call them that. We don't actually have that term, research assistant, in the ASE world. But graduate assistant, you can think they are more similar to research assistant if that helps you differentiate them in your mind. So they assist a faculty member or staff with professional and technical duties with the subjects and programs in which the assistant is doing graduate work. So they provide professional level assistance to faculty with research, research, equipment, evaluation of work. So sort of similar to research assistant, but again, that is not the term we use. Again, if you have any questions on how to classify someone, please feel free to contact me. And you can also look at the classification standards, which are on our website that Heather linked to. Okay, let's do the next slide. Okay, so here is the GA overview. We have two codes for them, academic year and monthly. We might suggest, unless you are very, very sure that you definitely need someone for the whole academic year, you might want to consider the monthly job code first. Just a friendly suggestion, but if you're sure you definitely need this sort of professional level help for the whole academic year, fantastic. That is why the job code is there. Okay, so I won't read through every single bullet point, but you can see the first day, their effective dates of employment, their salary, their checks, and just a reminder of the graduate assistant monthly that they are hired for short-term appointments only. So again, perhaps you might want to think about that one first. Just, friendly suggestion, and feel free to reach out. You want to talk about which one you might be interested in hiring. Okay, next. Okay, here's some important information about ASE. So it's Article 2.9. Recommend reading that. It's super important. The ASE needs to be provided the following information: who they're going to report to, location, the class assigned, if it's applicable, time and place of the orientation, and the specific duties and expectations. Remember Appendix E? This is an Appendix E, not the form on the faculty affairs site, Appendix E. You can include estimated time for the completion of each one. Just be super clear about what they are doing. It'll help them. It will help you. If you need to change it, no problem. Just make sure to document, confirm it in writing. And one more thing, please do not put other duties as assigned in any job posting for academic student employees. It sounds good. It's probably in our job description, but not okay to put that in academic student employee because they are, of course, unionized under Unit 11. A mnemonic device, help you remember this, is the movie Captain Phillips. So in this movie, Tom Cruise is, Tom Hanks, not Tom Cruise. Tom Hanks is on the boat with his crew, but their boat is being surrounded by pirates. So Tom Hanks gathers everyone together, his character does, and says, okay, men, we are being surrounded by pirates, so we all need to band together to fight the pirates. One of the crew members says, whoa, wait. My union contract says nothing about fighting pirates. And he's right. So similarly, with ASEs, do not put anything that's other duties as assigned, anything other than what's in the classification standards, i.e., do not ask them to fight pirates metaphorically or literally. Okay, thanks for the hearts. Okay, next slide, please. So this is the form we've been hyping up, a description of duties form, Appendix E. There's the website where you can find it. It's very helpful to just really be on the same page about what they are doing and not doing. Yeah, simple. Okay, next. Okay, so this is also an important aspect is making sure that the union has access and rights. If you look at Article 2314, the union shall be provided 30 minutes to present information to your ASCs. So we need to do this for 30 minutes. It can possibly be included if there's another presentation, but if that they can attend, like perhaps for your college, but if not, you need to schedule it, pay them for it during work hours. It is in their CBA. As to like what counts as them attending a pre-scheduled orientation, you can check with us, but the union is, from my experience, they are willing to work with you if they have like another presentation going on, the perhaps your ACs can attend that one or so forth. There's the email, the president emailed them to set that up. Thank you in advance for doing that to just make sure that your ACs are aware of all their rights and responsibilities. Okay, next. I think that might be it for me. Oh yeah, no, you still got me. So a classification reminder, sort of how I mentioned earlier, ISA, Instructional Student Assistant, does not equal student assistant, though it is similar. They are not the same. ISA, Unit 11, Academic Student Employee. SA, Student Assistant, Unit 15. Maybe something to help you differentiate it is like making copies or clerical work would be more like student assistant. Teaching someone algebra would be more like ISA. So we just really want to make sure we are correctly classifying student workers. So thank you in advance for paying attention to that. It's much appreciated. Okay, next. Oh, yes. So cancellation of classes and assignments. So if for TAs and GAs are non-conditional on budget and enrollment, except for the spring semester of AOR appointments, contact us if that's the case. So therefore, they cannot be canceled. This is why I mentioned for GAs, you might want to perhaps think about the monthly job code first when you're thinking about the needs of your department. Just a helpful hint. So ISAs, however, are conditional. They can be rescinded based on budget and enrollment. If there's no one in the class to teach algebra to, you cannot teach someone algebra. But TAs and GAs, you are sort of committed to that. Okay, if an appointment is rescinded, you do need to do that. TA still needs to be paid for class hours taught, of course. A GA or ISA needs to be paid for actual hours worked. Obviously, we always pay everyone for all work done. Okay, next slide, please. So that is it. Thank you very much. I'll turn it over to Albert, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. Welcome everyone to another pre-fall workshop. Okay, so let's begin with cancellation of classes and assignments because this tends to, sometimes happen as we start the academic semester. So classes may be canceled prior to the third class meeting. And so if a class does get canceled, and let's say we get to the third class meeting, in other words, they're physically teaching that third class. Now we're on the hook. The faculty member must be paid from the beginning of when the class started, or let's just say beginning of the semester through the end of the semester. So that's what I mean by being on the hook. But if the class cancels prior to the third class meeting, then we just the lecturer is or the faculty member is paid just for up until the second class meeting. So there's been instances where it's like, okay, well the class meets today, and today is the third class meeting, and let's say the class starts at I don't know maybe 5 o'clock. And the class is canceled out at 4:30. Well, the class didn't get physically taught. So the lecturer, the faculty member would be paid just for the 2 class meetings. Okay. So then let me jump to conditional appointment. So with conditional appointment, these are part-time lectures. In other words, their workload is less than full-time. And their classes can be canceled. Of course, it could be rescinded due to budget and enrollment. For non-conditional appointments, they cannot be canceled or rescinded. And this is typically for our full-time Y3s, or let's say our 3-year full-time lecturers, right? So they're getting basically every semester, they're getting 15 units. Annually, it's 30 units. These are our non-conditional. Okay. If we can jump to the next slide. Okay, so let me explain the difference here with with our lectures and the types of appointments. So 1-year appointments, these are lecturers who have taught in the previous academic year for 2 consecutive semesters, fall and spring, or spring and stateside summer. Again, 2 consecutive semesters, fall and spring, or spring and stateside summer. So I'll give you an example. So maybe you have a 1 semester faculty who taught, let's say they taught fall 25 and they're teaching spring 26, right? So going into this fall, if they're offered a course this fall, now they're going to become they're going to have a 1-year appointment, what we call a Y1, right? So teaching 2 consecutive semesters, they're eligible for a 1-year appointment. And with that 1-year appointment, there comes a unit entitlement. Okay, so I posed the question, what does this mean for the lecturer? Well, they've earned a 1-year appointment with an annual unit entitlement. And again, annual. So it's the total units taught over the 25-26 academic year, which may include stateside summer. And again, it's just 2 consecutive semesters, fall and spring, or spring and stateside summer. Okay, if they teach all 3 semesters, we're only going to look at fall and spring. And I use stateside summer as a semester. I mean, it's a trailing term of the academic year, but it counts. Okay, may count. Okay, with 3-year appointments, these are our Y3s, right? And these are lectures with appointments that have been earned, and I'll explain how that works. But when they receive their appointments, the the way it works is that they're along with our tenure track faculty, they're at the very top. In other words, they should be getting their assignments before any 1-year or 1 semester faculty or any new faculty that you're hiring for the semester. And this is based on the order of assignment, which is Article 12.29 point A and 12.29B of the collective bargaining agreement. So that's what I mean by CBA as you see it there. So again, what does this mean for Y3 lecturers? Well, they should be offered their assignments before Y1s and S1s. S1s are 1 semester, as I mentioned. And again, this is all mandated by the collective bargaining agreement. I wrote here noteworthy, Y3 lectures have an annual unit entitlement based on units taught in a Y3 eligibility year. And that eligibility year, so if they're new, they would have worked 6 consecutive academic years. That 6th year is their eligibility year for a 3-year appointment, meaning that once they start their 7th year, now they have a unit entitlement based on the total units taught in that 6th year, right? If they were in a previous 3-year appointment, and let's say 25-26 was their 3rd year of a 3-year appointment, then the units taught in academic year, let's say 25-26 as being their 3rd year, the total units there is going to set the entitlement for the next 3-year appointment, which would be fall 26, or let's say academic year 26-27 through academic years 29-30. Okay, if we can move to the next slide. Okay, what do we need to know? The types of appointments. Well, for instance, we need that for your appointment letters. In your appointment letters, you will indicate if they have a 3-year appointment, a 1-year appointment, or maybe they're a 1 semester, which is the S1. So Y3, Y1, and Y3. You'll need it for the part-time module, in terms of maybe putting the expiration dates on there as well, start dates, end dates. It's also, you'll need it for department college tracking and record keeping. Departments are responsible for tracking their appointment status as well as their unit entitlement. And our office is here to help you with that. If you have questions or you're unsure about a lecturer's entitlement, I'm here to assist you with that. And again, here are the different types of appointment. An S1 is a 1 semester appointment. There is no annual unit entitlement for an S1. Okay. A Y1 is a 1-year appointment. There's an annual unit entitlement for a Y1. For a Y3, there's 2 types of Y3s, and these are the 3-year appointments. There's new Y3s. So say, for instance, someone, let's say 25-26 was their 6th consecutive year, going into the 26-27th academic year. Now they have an annual unit entitlement for the next 3 years, and it stays the same for all 3 years. And what that means is that maybe their unit entitlement is 12 units, and they teach 6 units in fall, 6 units in spring. That it remains the same for the next 3 years, but that doesn't mean that they could have less units, or maybe their units could increase in an academic year. Their entitlement will stay the same, but again, you could have a decrease or an increase. Yeah. So anyway, so if you have questions about that, I mean, you can always, reach out to our office. Okay, if we can go on to the next slide. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. The scenario for 4, 5, and 6. So these particular ones, this is going to help us determine, unless you're not a Y3, but I'm only speaking to S1, which is 1 semester, or Y1. So scenarios 4, 5, and 6, right? If we look at what in scenario 4, someone taught fall, they taught for 9 units, and there was no appointment for spring or stateside summer, then they continue as an S1 for the next academic year. The same thing for spring. So if we look at scenario 6, there was no teaching in fall, but there was teaching in spring only. So there's no entitlement, and they continue being an S1. And sometimes we have, situations where a lecturer just teaches every fall, and they can continue on teaching fall for years. And so then, but I do want to caveat that. So 1 semester of teaching counts for a academic year of service. So in other words, they can teach 1 semester for 6 consecutive academic years. It counts as a full year for a Y3 appointment. Okay. They can teach spring only, and that can count also for a Y3 appointment when they get to that 6th consecutive academic year. And with stateside summer, yeah, they're not going to get to a 6th year. I mean, that's just summer, and for some reason the contract doesn't speak to that. So they can continue working summer, stateside summer, and they won't receive a 3-year appointment. The other scenarios, say for instance, scenario 1, I mentioned earlier 2 consecutive academic years. So let's say you've hired them fall 25 and spring 26. Those are 2 consecutive academic years. There was no summer taught, and even if they did, like scenario two, we're only going to look at the first two consecutive semesters. So going into the 26-27 academic year, now they're a Y1 and their unit entitlement is based on the 25-26 academic year. Okay. So scenario three, earlier I said fall and spring or spring and stateside summer. So then in scenario three, it meets that condition of spring and stateside summer. So those two consecutive terms are going to make them eligible for a 1-year appointment going into the 26-27 academic year. And they also have a unit entitlement. And scenario seven, they just continue to be an S1 because there's no consecutive teaching. Okay, and if you have questions, again, you can feel free to reach out to the faculty affairs. You can ask for me and I can help you with that. Okay, if we move on to the next slide. Okay, if there are no classes to offer an entitled part-time faculty member, please contact our office for assistance. Earlier I mentioned, for Y3's order of assignment. So the contract speaks to who gets, their courses offered first, and 3-year appointees are at the top of the order. And then it's followed by 1-year appointees and then 1 semester. So, and this is something that your chair needs to be looking at carefully when they're making the assignments. It is the responsibility of the chair to make the assignments. And so we often do consultation, and we appreciate that, that you also consult with with your chair about it. But feel free to, reach out to our office for assistance on that as well. And we move to the next slide. Okay, so with appointments and entitlements, more often than not, we'll have people lecturers or faculty who are going to decline units. They're going to resign. People are going to retire. We always want you to document any communication where a faculty member is declining units, is resigning, and retiring. And the reason for that is that, sometimes what happens is a lecturer will say, "Hey, I'm retiring," and then they change their mind, and then they're left out of an assignment, but they just never communicated. Well, the union is going to come back and say, if they go out to reach out to their union to say, "Hey, I didn't get my classes." Was this documented anywhere? I mean, what proof do we have, right, at that point? So always ask the faculty member to, if they decided and communicated verbally or by phone that they are declining units, they're resigning or retiring, to please state it in written communication. So it could be by way of letter, an email, and again, if they're declining or they're resigning, they're retiring, and if possible, when it's effective. I mean, that's always important. And then this way you can submit a PAR form to separate. And I would also say that with your PAR form or the paperwork that you submit, please attach a copy of the resignation or retiring. If it's declining units, obviously you're not going to separate them, so you won't need that documentation. But they're just declining units, and then you assign them for those units. If a faculty member fails to submit documentation, please have your chair, write to them with their understanding, of their decision, of declining, resigning or retiring. Again, that just goes back to having it in writing. So document. And then ultimately, I mentioned a PAR form. If they're separating, of course, it's not just the PAR, but the separation and clearance form. I would say do it immediately so that we don't forget. There's also on that separation and clearance form just things that need to be checked off the list, whether they're returning keys, equipment, or what have you. So please do that. And then there's a link embedded here on the HR forms. You'll find it on the HR website under their forms section there. Okay, if we can move to the next slide. Okay, Kim, did you want to talk about this? Or did you? You know what? I'll cover
Oh,
it. No
well,
worries. Go ahead.
sure, I can do it. Okay. So the total instructional employment disclosure form, TIDE form, is everyone's favorite form. It tracks employment across all faculty members' assignments. It is due at the beginning of each semester from all our 3 employees, faculty. Good news, Unit 11 does not have to do this. So it is done via OnBase. Won't sort of pull you through exactly how to log in and do it here for this webinar, but we have a super one-stop shop TIDE website that's linked there. That has, sorry, my dog's barking. It has all the instructions, how to complete the form, and you can reach out to me specifically if you're having any issues or if your faculty has any issues accessing the form. We're happy to help. We may have future updates as to the status of this form as we advance, but this is how we are currently processing it. And also just to keep in mind, the purpose of this form is to ensure no one violates the 125% rule. Sorry, I muted myself accidentally. I think we're good enough for the TIDE form, but again, feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Okay, thanks. We could go to the next slide.
Thank you, Kim. Okay. Okay, so let me talk about substitute pay. This is important because this happens a lot too. So so let's say that you have a lecturer who will not be able to teach a class for a short period of time due to, I don't know, maybe they're taking just a medical leave or of some sort. But in any case, you need to staff the faculty members class. You can do a substitute assignment. This is actually processed through the additional pay module using job code 2356. A pre-authorization is needed, and then also it goes through the payment authorization once the work is completed. So pre-authorization, that's before the work is done, it needs to be approved, and then also the payment authorization afterwards. And when Yesenia will talk to you about more about or will present on additional pay. But with the substitute assignments, they cannot exceed 20 calendar days. That's including Saturday and Sunday. Okay, so it's not when the class meets every single time the class meets. It is from the day the class meets, you're going to count every day, even though they're not teaching. Let's say the class is Monday, Mondays only. Well, you're counting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So up to 20 calendar days. That's the way that job code works. And substitutes are paid only for classroom contact hours only. Okay. Again, they're there for a short period of time, not to exceed that. If you know it's going to exceed 20 calendar days, you may want to take the option where you're going to want to increase the another part-time lecture time base to cover the class. So maybe 20 days is going to turn into a month and a half, 2 months. You can send in a par form to increase the person's assignment, meaning like in terms of their units, right? They may have to take over the class. Now, one of the things I do want to say is that sometimes it does work out where maybe you can have 2 substitutes. One will teach 20 days. I know it's not ideal, but it does happen. Maybe you can split it between 2. If we know, okay, you know what, it's going to be, maybe we don't want to go the route of extending or increasing a unit assignment because it's not going to be for that long, but it is going to exceed 20 calendar days. Well, maybe you may want to split it between two substitutes. So that's another option. Um, so a reminder with this is that a total time base, and as you know, cannot exceed full time. So in other words, like if you have a faculty member, I'll take a tenure track faculty, for instance, um, they cannot do substitute work. And there are policies regarding that, and Yessie will talk about that. But maybe you've heard of the 125% policy, so that plays into this scenario. So if a faculty member has a full-time assignment, they can't take on substitute work, any teaching work. Okay, and based on the policy, it's because it's similar in nature to their regular teaching assignment, right? They're teaching, substitute is teaching. So yeah. Okay, and then departments should remind lecturers that mid-semester time-based changes and late hires can impact their next or final pay warrants. And that's because of how the payment is calculated, and including a reduction to settlement pay. I would recommend, speaking to HR, Eric and his team about that. They're the experts with that. So feel free to, yeah, reach out to them. If you reach out to us, I'm going to redirect you to Eric and the team. Okay. And then again, full-time faculty cannot be paid for substitute work. Okay, I'm going to the next slide. I'll turn it over to Yessie.
Thank you, Albert. As Albert mentioned, I'll be covering the additional pay process. Employees can work up to the 125% FTE limitation. That is equivalent to 50 hours per week. And this is only if certain conditions are met. As Albert mentioned, the work must consist of employment that is a substantially different nature from the employee's primary job. The additional assignment should be funded from non-general fund sources, and the additional assignment can be due to accrual of part-time employment on more than one CSU campus. For example, a part-time lecturer can work 6 units at another CSU campus and can work an additional 6 units here at CSUN. The key word is that they must have a part-time workload in order to work in multiple CSU campuses. A full-time workload consists of 40 hours per week, so the additional 25% is equivalent to 10 hours per week. This means a part-time faculty member can work up to the 125% or 50 hours per week. Non-exempt staff with additional appointments must be compensated at an overtime rate for any hours worked in excess of 40 hours per week. For example, a full-time staff employee works 8 hours as a special consultant. The special consultant must be paid those 8 hours at an overtime rate. Next slide, please. Requests for the 4062 job code can be processed via the additional pay module only for those with an active faculty position. Employees cannot begin doing the work before the pre-authorization is approved. And the description box should contain a clear and short description of the work to be completed. The funding source should include a brief description or the name of the source of funding used for the request. This is because the Office of Faculty Affairs does not have information to the funding strip, so we wouldn't know what the number means, what funding source that number is tied to. Next slide, please. There are 21.75 days available during the fall 2026 for additional pay, and there are 21.25 days available for spring 2027. Here you'll see a chart for the two most popular or most used job codes in the additional pay module. They are the 2403 and the 4662 job code. The 2403 job code is utilized by faculty and lecturers who have a full-time workload during the academic semester, and for full-time 12-month faculty all year long. The steps required for the 2403 job code are the state pre-authorization form, the state pre-authorization and the additional pay module. And then they should also appear on NPC and will require NPC certification. This is because the 2403 job code is a monthly job code. The payment is issued usually on the last day of the month or the first day of the pay period. For the actual dates, I would suggest you look at the university payroll calendar on the HR webpage. The 4662 job code is utilized for the special consultant hourly job code. It is utilized by faculty whose workload is less than full-time during the academic semester and by AY faculty during academic breaks. The steps include the pre-authorization prior to the work being completed, and this ensures that the faculty member is within the 125% FTE limitation. So we want to make sure that the pre-authorizations are submitted prior to the work being completed. And again, this is to ensure that they are within the 125% FTE limitation, so they are eligible to take on an additional assignment. The second piece is the payment authorization. And this is when the work has been completed and we're confirming that we're confirming the number of hours that were worked. The 4662 job code is an hourly job code, and for that reason, the payment is issued mid-month, usually the 15th of the month. Anyone can initiate a pre-authorization. However, only the initiator and those in the approval path are able to view the request. Only the initiator and the employee are able to enter the pre-authorization and submit hours worked. So again, that's only the person initiating the request or the employee who are able to do this. If for any reason the initiator or the employee are unable to report the hours, you would then need to contact our office and then we could do that on your behalf. The final approvers are Faculty Affairs for all faculty RO3 requests, and Human Resources approves all staff only additional pay requests for St. College. Next slide, please. There are restrictions to additional pay that we must keep in mind. For faculty are restricted to 90 academic workdays total, and they are not eligible for additional appointments while in FERP unless the appointment is for an entity that does not participate in CalPERS, such as TUC. You will receive a prompt in the additional pay module that prevents you from entering requests for FERP faculty, because again, Faculty Affairs must review the request to ensure that the faculty member is eligible for this additional pay. Rehired annuitants are restricted to 960 hours or 50% of their time base preceding retirement, whichever is less, and this is within a fiscal year. It is up to the employee and the department to keep track of their hours, and we also suggest that the employee reaches out to CalPERS directly to ensure that they are able to work additional hours in the event that they are employed as elsewhere, since we would only have information pertaining to season employment. Leaves, employees on leave status are not eligible for additional pay, and requests must be reviewed by Faculty Affairs. Just in case, in fact, they are eligible, if faculty members are on sabbatical, they are eligible for additional pay if they request permission from the provost prior to going on sabbatical. And because the work that they will be completing on this additional assignment is related to their sabbatical. So that is why even though they are on leave, technically, if they have the permission and the work is related to their sabbatical, they are eligible for this additional pay or assignment. You will receive this prompt when you're attempting to enter a request for a faculty employee on leave. The system will not let you to will not allow you to move forward, and you will need to contact our office. We would need to review the request to ensure that the faculty member is in fact eligible for additional pay, and if so, we would need to process the pre-authorization on our end. So we would be doing that on your behalf. Next slide, please. We have step-by-step guides available on our Faculty Affairs webpage. If you click on compensation, these are the options that you will see. If you click on additional employment compensation, you will see all the guides that we have available to you. And again, these are step-by-step guides. We've also included the link to the document that HR has on their webpage. And this is the FAQs for job code 4662, and this is concerning both faculty and staff. We also have a guide on how to approve requests available. And if you click on the deadlines for human resources processing, that is linked to the university payroll calendar on the HR webpage. And again, this is very important. We want to be mindful of the additional pay approval deadlines. And we also want to be aware of the payday, right, for these job codes. Those are common questions that we receive here in our office, and it is important that departments and employees are aware of these deadlines and the pay dates. We're hoping that having this information on one central location will be beneficial to you. Next slide, please. Here are some more tips. Please inform employees of additional pay requests that will be submitted on their behalf. Sometimes employees reach out to our office and they're asking about their additional pay status, and it's not in the system, so we are unable to help them or guide them. So please just make sure to keep the employee aware of whatever plan you have as far as will you be entering the additional pay request on your behalf, or is the expectation that they do it? Every department handles this process differently, so just make sure to communicate that to the employee, please. Make sure to review the university payroll calendar to understand additional pay approval deadlines and scheduled pay dates. Make sure to submit pre-authorizations as soon as possible. Sometimes, I'm sure you've all noticed, you have to steer requests along the way to ensure that the requests are approved in a timely manner. We want to make sure that employees are getting paid when they're expected to get paid, right? Keep additional pay deadlines in mind when submitting requests. Vague descriptions, and this is vague work descriptions, may cause delays in approval. So make sure that the description is being explained as if it's someone who has no clue as to the work that is being completed. Work with your chair, dean, or offer of work to have a game plan for additional pay requests. Again, you want to know who will be initiating the request, when should it be initiated, and who will be monitoring the hours or days worked. And then who will be either certifying or confirming that the hours worked have been worked. Always enter a comment in the notes section when denying or closing out a request. This is very important because if you deny or close a request, the system status shows as completed. So no one would know that it was actually denied or closed unless we reach out to HR to see if payment was issued. The system just shows completed. So if we see a note there that says request denied or closed, we would at least know, okay, we do not need to look into this further. This was not processed or paid. For training guides, submission deadlines, and other information, please visit the Faculty Affairs webpage. And for payday information, please visit the HR payroll page. As previously mentioned, we've now linked their page on our additional employment compensation page. So if you click on the deadlines for human resources processing, you will be linked to that calendar. For additional pay questions or inquiries, please email additional.pay@csun.edu. And am I turning it over to you now, Eric?
Yeah, you can turn it over to me.
Okay,
All
thank
right, so
you.
thank you so much, Yessie. Thank you so much, Faculty Affairs. Really appreciate all your help with this presentation. But yes, as far as entering requests for job code 4662, like Yessie was mentioning, um, it's kind of been split as far as its usage and its kind of modality for faculty, which is kind of the focus of this presentation. But I think it's also important that I also mention about employees who would be considered staff or employees who would just be in a almost a separate category that would be handled differently. So it's kind of um, a two-step kind of process here where the faculty 4662s are being entered in through the additional pay module. So like at the top row, it says active faculty, they'd be processed through additional pay module, and those would require that pre-authorization and payment authorization. And for questions on that, you would contact additional.pay@csun.edu. Now for existing staff employees who are already on a 4662, those will be processed through a timesheet. So make sure it's processed similar to an hourly staff. So just make sure that time is entered and approved by the posted deadlines on our university payroll calendar. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. I can definitely try to triage that as best as I can. For new staff employees, these would be hired in through the recruitment process, so through CHRS recruitment. And the questions on hiring a new 4662 staff employee, feel free to reach out to talent acquisition at csun.edu. And here's an interesting one. So for future faculty, so for these who are not yet active faculty with their effective date being current as of today, but you know they're going to be working as a special consultant for some extra work, the request would still need to go through just due to timing. It would need to go through as a recruitment piece because the additional pay module does not recognize future hire dates when it's trying to assess its classification for the employee. So in those instances, if you do get a message like that, then most likely it needs to go through talent acquisition. Now, if there needs to be for an existing staff 4662 and you know their rate is going to change based on a change in their work, we would need to have that done via an action request form. So please just note the new hourly rate and the effective date of the change. That usually aligns with the first day of the pay period, and that can go over to me. Faculty on leave, as Yessie mentioned, those rules would apply if they're eligible. So they would be processed through the additional pay module if they're eligible, and you would contact Faculty Affairs for any questions. Just a reminder, academic student employees and faculty rehired annuitants are not eligible for 4662. But yeah, feel free to reach out to Faculty Affairs should you have more questions. Yes, like I mentioned earlier, the special consultants 4662 must be hired via CHS recruitment if they are staff. You can reach out to talent.acquisition@csun.edu for more questions. And like I mentioned, it's handled similarly to an hourly staff. So the hours are entered via the timesheet, and the time for a given month is paid out in that following mid-month cycle. So for work done in June, let's say, it'd be paid out July 15th, and so on. But yeah, again, that is contingent on if the time is entered and approved by the posted time entry deadlines. We do have our 4662 FAQs that is on our HR website and is also now, as Yessie mentioned, linked on the Faculty Affairs website, should you have questions on staff in particular. But okay, going on to onboarding info. So as far as background checks, so yes, faculty do require a background check and they must have a current and cleared one on file in order to work. So this would be also for those who are brand new or if they have been rehired and have been in separated status for more than 12 months, then they would be required to do another background check. So a contingent offer must be accepted to initiate, and you would submit these requests through a chargeback system. So that can be available through the CSUN portal under financial services. There would be a section there noted as chargebacks. Should you have more questions, or if you do have situations where you need an exception to these rules, you can reach out to limited exception form at csun.edu. Exceptions to background checks. So obviously, I had mentioned in my previous session yesterday that student employees, so this would also encompass academic student employees, TAs, GAs, and ISAs, would not need a background check unless they're required by law. And should you have questions, reach out to backgroundchecks at csun.edu. I'm not going to go fully into this, but as far as rules and on background checks, I believe this information is available on the background checks website for HR. Obviously, there's different kinds of packages for chargebacks and requests, based on their needs and based on what you already have. Yes, but who will need to sign in? Who will need to come into the front desk and sign? So obviously all new faculty, TAs, GAs, and ISAs, and any rehired employees in those groups, if they had been separated for 18 months or more. If they've been only separated for 12 months or more, then they may need to complete a new I-9. So if you do have questions to confirm the signing requirements, you can reach out to HR customer service at csun.edu. We ask that these are all completed on or before the first day of the fall semester, which is August 20th, 2026. If background check is still pending, then HR was going to hold the sign-in packet until it clears, or if we receive the limited exception form, obviously whichever comes first. One caveat to the rule that I just mentioned there, the having everything in by fall semester. If you know you have any tenure track faculty who are brand new for this academic year, we do ask that they sign in earlier, sign in prior to the on or before the new faculty orientation that they're required to attend. To schedule sign-in appointment, you would email HR customer service at csun.edu. There's some more information there. But yeah, you would need to provide them with the new employee sign-in form as that's required for the appointment scheduling, and that will be completed on the department. But yeah, as far as the sign-in paperwork, you would need the cleared background check, the completed new employee sign-in form. This is exempt to any full-time or tenure track faculty, and then the documentation that they would need to complete the Form I-9. So this is like when they come in to complete the sign-in paperwork. They would also need to bring in verifications of, eligibility of employment and identification. They would also need a copy of the SC1, as Faculty Affairs mentioned earlier. This is sort of like their resume. So they would need to have that, a copy of that as well. And yes, the faculty degree verification will be handled via the background check process. But yes, so the sign-in express document is sort of when they come in to sign in, it's sort of a document that they would type in a few key pieces of information, and that would auto-populate the necessary forms that HR, operations, and payroll would need in order to transact their appointments. But if you do have any questions in regards to these documents or on anything on sign-in paperwork, you can reach out to HR customer service at csun.edu. So upon the sign-in completion, the academic student employees will receive a proof of sign-in, and the faculty will receive that alongside their CSUN ID. But they will need to go to the records and registration office, or I think they would just need to contact that, because the records and registration office and admissions and records will send an email to that faculty CSUN email to set up the digital MATA card. But yeah, so requests for access are no longer being submitted by HR. IT's automated process is contingent on the job record being entered in the system. So if you do have questions on that, you can contact IT. Okay, some information on benefits. So the benefit summary is available on the HR benefits webpage. There's also some deadlines as far as for new faculty who are eligible for CalPERS. These are kind of the ideas or the dates and effective dates of when their coverage would start, if they're a fall or a spring hire. And benefits also wanted me to share open enrollment dates, and if they sign up or change their plans during this period of time, then those changes will become effective January 1st of next year. There's also a virtual fair, Benefits and Wellness, October 1st, 2026, 11 to 2. Just keep an eye out on HR News for more information on that. And there's also a list of the benefits contacts should anyone have, any of your faculty members have questions in regards to CalPERS, or as far as, leave of absences and workers' compensation as well. But okay, on to the part-time faculty module. So it uses a few major job codes. So obviously for R11, the main ones you would see is a 2354 for teaching associates and 2355 for graduate assistants. While it does have access for the monthly graduate assistant, 2325, we do ask that you submit a PAR. That way we can hire and terminate kind of in the same go off of that PAR. Just because if it is a short-term assignment, we don't want to just kind of leave it active and they have the potential of getting overpaid if we don't separate on time. So we do ask that you submit a PAR for any monthly graduate assistants. And of course, by and large, the largest group of employees who are hired in through this part-time faculty module would be the lecturers, 2358 part-time faculty. So in order to access this, so once you log into your system portal, you would go under HR admin, select part-time faculty, and it'll take you to the faculty search page. So like the example there, you can see. Required information is the department and job code. So, and you would also need to enter at least one of those search information fields, ID, name, social, in order to locate the faculty member that you want to hire. So it'll take you to the search results page, and obviously, blocked out the, confidential information there, but it would take you to a page there would identify the employee that you're searching for. Obviously, you can click the more info button if you just want to know more about their, appointments that they have current, active or inactive. And if this person does look correct, so if it's like a continuing employee, you would hit select. But if you're going to hire a new PTF employee, you would select that selection there that I highlighted. But in the case that you're going to have a continuing faculty, there are 3 options there that are available. It is cancellation of appointment. So if they were hired, but they're not going to be working, you could select that. Or if their class was canceled. The reappointment. So that is used for, let's say, a faculty member who was working spring of 2026, and they're going to be continuing to fall, then you would use the reappointment to do a transaction to kind of keep them active. Or if their time base is going to be changing, either increase or decrease for a part-time lecturer or for an employee in general, you would use that code. Obviously, I also have to black out quite a bit of the biographical information here, but it would take you to this page where it would kind of give a summary of the employee's information at the top. You would enter in the effective date. I believe it should be auto-populating based on duration of appointment. But yeah, it would align with the start, in this case, the start with the AY academic year. You would select the job action there. There's the magnifying glass dropdown. You could do also in this page, if you're selecting an employee who had an inactive record, you can rehire them. So you search and select, and then you just need to go down and update the paid units and the duration of appointment. So that would auto-populate the appointment end date as well. For reappointments, like I mentioned, this is to extend appointments for employees who are active, and that'll be continuing to fall of 2026. And time-based changes, you would just need to update the paid units. Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry, but obviously if you do have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. We also have guides available on the HR department guides website. So in the event that you need to do an action that can't be done via the module, you would use the personnel action request form, also known as a PAR form. So a couple examples. So if you're rehiring an employee who hasn't worked with CSUN in quite a while, and they have an outdated minimum salary for their rank, you would use a PAR form to bring them back. Or let's say you're hiring a lecturer who is going to be teaching a full-time course load of 1.0 FTE or 15 units, also be done via PAR form. We'll have the part-time and full-time templates of PARs that has also helpful descriptions and kind of pre-filled out forms. You just kind of need to change the information for your purposes, with plenty of examples there. That'll be featured on our website. So PARs are not needed to hire after the entry deadline that I mentioned at the start of the presentation. So if you just know you're doing a time-based change from 3 units to 6 units for a part-time lecture, and it's beyond that last Thursday of August, it's okay. You can enter through the module. Just please notify your technician if there is a late entry, just so that we can kind of expedite that. We do ask that you have all of your PARs in by the first day of the fall semester, if possible. So as far as kind of a recap, just kind of explain what we can do and what we can't do. So in the module, you're able to hire faculty, do time-based increase or decrease, cancel their appointments, rehires, and reappointments. So as far as PAR forms, that is used for corrections, if the employee is going on a leave or a short work break, if you're adjusting them to a full-time course load, especially important for rehired annuitants. We only have a small window of time to, from their start of their appointment to transact these items and get them into our payroll system. I believe it's only 30 days. And if we don't have that information in by 30 days from their appointment, we do get dinged on that. So we do ask that rehired annuitants, FERPs, all those are the highest priority items for the departments to send in to the operations team. But yeah, if you do need more samples, those are available on the HR Toolkit. I believe it redirects to the department guides website as well. So just to kind of round out here, just a little bit on MPC. I know we kind of mentioned that at the start of the presentation. So what does it mean? So MPC is Master Payroll Certification, and this is a chance for departments to review all salaried employees who are scheduled to be paid for a given pay period. So if the employee is entitled for full or partial pay, you certify the employee along with a corrected note in the comment box. And you can just explain if it's in regards to a time-based change that happened, or if there's dock days, or if the start date had changed, just so this would prevent you from sending in an MPC exception form. So exceptions to look for: employees who are in terminated status or unpaid leave, or if they've had assignment changes. And especially if you have new hires or rehires with an effective date higher than the final MPC date. So if you know that anyone's going to have a late hire that's beyond the September 17th date, then in that case, that would most likely be an MPC exception form case where you need to fill that out. But yeah, so initial, that kind of just captures all the items that have been that are active and will be submitted to get paid out, for at the end of the month. So make sure all changes are entered prior to 6 a.m. on the MPC initial date in order to be reflected on that certification. And the final is would be more of the same, but as far as any kind of updates that can be done, it's only for terminations, new hires or rehires, or dock days if they're approved. So yeah, the MPC exception form is used when the employees are not reflected on MPC. And in the case, like I mentioned, any hire, rehire entered in part-time faculty module after that final MPC. So mid-semester time-based changes. So you would certify the MPC and just leave a comment for payroll indicating that, of that situation. But should you have any questions, you can contact your payroll technician on MPC. So finishing up here, so separation. So monthly TAs and monthly GAs, when they're approved, need to be separated via PAR, like I mentioned, just for the ease of processing them and to prevent any overpayments. So students and ISAs, student assistants, require a termination process in the student module. So resignations, like faculty affairs mentioned, document. And we do ask that you submit these in a timely manner with a PAR and a separation clearance form together for those RO3 resignations. So mass separations, GAs, those are separated before the February and July payroll cutoffs. And in past practice, the TAs and temporary faculty who worked spring only are going to be separated the first day of the August pay period, just to make sure that they're only paid for the time that the time that they worked, but also the time that they're entitled to. Make sure they only get the 6 checks. And the first day of the fall semester will be for any temporary faculty and TAs who worked the entire academic year who are due their 12 checks. And this is again, these will be captured in that mass separation if they are not reappointed for fall. So again, that's kind of why we do ask that you process things in a timely manner. All right, I think that just about does it. So we'll leave it open for any Q&A. So we'll stay on. But for anyone else who doesn't have any questions, I want to say thank you so much for attending, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.